Hi, I'm Beatrice Go and welcome to Sports Wrap. 2 full weeks of high level sports action and seeing the best athletes in the world come out and battle it out come to an end as the Tokyo 2020 Olympics officially closed. Philippines also had a very historic campaign this year, with Hidilyn Diaz winning the country's first ever Olympic gold and the country going home with its largest medal haul of all time. Here are the highlights of our run in the Tokyo Olympics. The Philippines nailed its best performance in the Olympic Games, bannered by weightlifter Hidilyn Diaz's gold medal in the women's 55-kilogram event. It was a statement win by the Philippine weightlifting queen as she became the first Filipina athlete to win multiple Olympic medals after her 2016 Rio Olympic silver medal conquest. Philippine boxing also delivers 3 of the 4 medals the country won in the Tokyo Olympic Games. Nesty Petesio became the first Filipina boxer to win an Olympic medal as she took home the silver in the women's featherweight event. She also made history as the first women's featherweight silver medalist as the event made its debut in the Tokyo Games. Carlo Paalam went home with a silver in the men's flyweight after inspiring many Filipinos with his scavenger turned Olympian story. Ymir Marshall added a bronze to the haul from the men's middleweight event in his first ever Olympic Games. This became the country's largest Olympic medal haul of all time as it surpassed the 3 medal haul in the 1932 Los Angeles Games. Many Filipino athletes also shattered records and made strong finishes in the Tokyo Games. Aside from Diaz, who set the Olympic record for the women's 55-kilogram clean and jerk and total, Elrene Ando also set the national record in the women's 64 kilograms with her total lift of 222 kilograms. Swimmer Luke Gebbie reset his Philippine record in the men's 100-meter freestyle with a time of 49.64 seconds. Athletes who made it to the finals of their events are skateboarder Marjolin Didal in the women's street event, EJ Obiena in the men's pole vault, and gymnast Carlos Yulo in the men's vault. 2021 U.S. Women's Open champion Yuka Sasso also crashed into the top 10 of the women's golf tournament after rallying from an opening round 47th place. And the best way to cap off the Tokyo Olympics was to see Filipina boxer Petesio carry the flag in the closing ceremonies together with her teammates on stage. Of course, we're just super proud of our 19 Filipino athletes who competed in the Tokyo Olympics. Now, let's move on to see who won the overall championship in the Tokyo Olympics. After trailing China for the entirety of the Olympic Games, it just took one day for USA to edge out the rising sporting nation by 1 gold medal. USA took the overall championship with 39 golds, 41 silver, and 33 bronze for a tournament high of 113 medals. China lost the top spot as it ended the Olympics with 38 golds, 32 silver, and 18 bronze. Host country Japan did not emerge on top, but the whole nation leaped with joy as it set a new record high of 27 gold medals, surpassing the 16 gold mark in the 1964 Tokyo Olympics and the 2000s Athens Olympics. It also bags 14 silver and 17 bronze medals. Philippines ends at 50th place with 1 gold, 2 silver, and 1 bronze, and is tied with Slovakia. The Philippines proved that it is continuing its hot momentum after winning the overall championship in the Southeast Asian Games as the country emerged number 1 in the region in the Tokyo Olympics. To give honor to the host city, let's see how Tokyo closed out the Tokyo Olympics in the closing ceremonies. Tokyo did not fall short in wowing the world until the end in the closing ceremonies. Athletes were able to finally march with their teams and enjoy the end of the Olympic Games that was celebrated with fireworks and creative performances. We are also thanking the volunteers for their hard work behind the scenes and their perseverance in making the delegates feel welcome despite the pandemic. Now, Tokyo bids goodbye to hosting the Olympics and it turns it over to Paris for 2024, where it will highlight the youth vibe with the debut of breaking and BMX freestyle. So I would really like to honor Tokyo for hosting the outstanding Olympic Games and coming very prepared to pull every single detail off despite the pandemic. Now let us welcome our special guest this evening as we celebrate the end of Tokyo Olympics. Welcome back, Chito de la Vega, Rappler Senior Desk Editor and former sports writer, who is very happy right now because we have finally won our first Olympic gold medal. Good evening, Chito.
Hi, hi, hi. Parang kailan lang 'di ba nagpe-predict lang tayo. Ngayon nangyari na.
Yes. Yes, and it happened so fast. I think within the span of 3 days, like nagkaroon na tayo ng first Olympic gold medal.
Yes,
So,
yes.
Chito, this has been your dream. That's as you said, that was my intro to you before that you were just dreaming of the Philippines winning its first Olympic gold medal. And now it happened. So, what were your thoughts and feelings to it?
Ano pa nga it's a glorious time to be a sports fan and a even glorious time to be a Filipino. Notwithstanding what we're going through these days, I mean, yung success ni Filipina ni Hidilyn. 'Di ba pinag-usapan pa nga natin, sabi ko, malamang Filipina ang unang medalya na. And it's true. It's true. Muntik pang maging dalawa, di ba? Si, sino pa ba isang silver medalist natin? Si Nesty? Nesty? Correct?
Yes, it's Nesty.
Yes, di ba?
Yes, and
Uh, pero okay lang yun. Like I said in the earlier ano natin is, there are no losers in the Olympic Games. Just to get there means already nando ka na sa listahan ng mga elite. And then to win medals, bonus na lang yan. And of course, it was only a dream until previous 2 weeks, 3 weeks ago, that when will the Philippines be in the gold column? And now I was watching your report, and it's a different feeling to see us in the ilang bansa lang, di ba? 50 countries only made it in the gold column. I mean, di ba? What a glorious day to be a Filipino.
yes, and you also said that when Heidi or whoever wins the Olympic gold, it's like a Miss Universe treatment. And I think Heidelin showed that, right?
Yes, in fact, wala lang talagang question and answer portion eh. Pero she would have aced it also. The way she talks, she's very articulate. The way she told her story, yung ano niya. One thing about sports and not just Heidi Lim, but all the athletes show this is there's always the story of rising above adversity, conquering what seems to be insurmountable odds. Biro mo na stranded si Heidelin, di ba? And she was a hopeful. And she articulated it, and she already embraced the role of a, alam niya kagad eh, and even the other athletes eh, alam nila kagad role model sila. And that's the beauty of sports, that's the beauty of athletes. And because they're Olympians, alam mo na kagad they're different. Parang di ba sabi nga natin, parang mga beauty queen na you join the beauty contest, you're a candidate. But once you win, you're already a beauty queen, and they already have that aura. And these Filipino athletes proved it. They already have that aura. And si Heidelin ang Miss Universe. Diaz din, Diaz. Gloria Diaz, tapos Heidelin.
Yes, that was very unexpected actually. Like now that I remember, like you did mention that there was a comparison with Gloria Diaz being the first Miss Universe of the Philippines and now Hidilyn Diaz being the first Olympic gold medalist of the Philippines.
Di ba? We're also
Yes,
happy.
and
We're all happy.
yes, and I do agree that like once you're in the Olympics, I feel like it's the world stage. Like you could see how every single athlete they really come prepared. Like they're in their peak form, they're in their best form. They already know by then that they're set apart. It's a different competition, like even if they're always used to competing in world championships, Asian
Ibang level.
championships.
Mm. Not always it's like sports talaga eh. It's also like real life. You reach the Olympics, you may be the best, the number one, but not necessarily you will be the gold medal winner. The one who wins in all sports, even team events, and the one who wins is the one who was the best at that moment. Nagkataon pag Olympic moment, ikaw ang pinakamagaling. Parang yung kay Hidilyn din. Ginugulpi lang, ano yun ginugulpi? Hindi siya nananalo, di ba lagi doon sa Chinese na yun, di ba gano'n na sila lagi sa labanan. Pero pagdating ng wala, hindi siya, they couldn't stop her. It's like that. It's the best when it comes to ibang level when you reach. Not always the number one wins. It's the one who's the tadhana. I don't know. Pero it's tadhana because you worked hard for it. It's not tadhana na parang chamba. You worked hard for it.
Yes. And speaking of the Olympic moments, like what were your favorite moments in this Tokyo Olympics?
Ang sa akin, isa sa pinaka, of course, Filipino winning, yung story ni Paalam, yung story nila Nesty, yung the breaking barriers. I think two things ang stand out sa akin. One is Tokyo, Japan, the Japanese people proved na kahit hindi masyadong popular sa kanila, they pushed through with the Olympics. And they proved to the world na kaya namin to. And like kanina nga pinag-uusapan natin, there was no transmission of COVID-19 within the Olympic bubble. Kahit merong mga positive, pero mga dumating sila ron, positive na sila. Pero na-control nila. Of course, medyo hindi popular yan sa mga Japanese. Pero we, particularly the Filipinos, have to thank him for that. Thank them for that. Tapos isang nagustuhan ko sa Olympics, hindi ko maalala anong event yun eh. Yung nag-share ng gold medal, yung dalawang athlete, yung isang Middle East athlete and the Italian athlete. Qatar. I forgot that event eh. Pero kasi ako
The
mababaw
high
luha
jump.
ko eh. High jump, yeah, tama. Na nag-tie sila, di ba? Nag-rejump, tie pa din. Nag-rejump ng second time, tie pa din. Tapos nung third time, nag-cramps yung Italian. Tama ba akong kwento ko? Tama? If you remember?
Like the Italian, they both had the same score. It's just
Yes.
that they had to have a jump off, but then
Jump off, di ba?
the
Pag imbis na
yeah,
parang
but
shoot out,
then
shoot out.
yes, but then
Hindi
the
na kaya nung
Qatar
Italian. Oo. Kasi
and
nag-cramps
the
siya.
Qatar guy just said, can we just get two gold? Can we just share a gold medal? And the organizer said yes. Actually, in that moment, like, have you ever seen that moment happen in the previous Olympic games that you've covered?
Mm, sa mga napanood kong Olympics, there are incidents that they share. Pero I don't remember, and I could be wrong here, pero I don't remember the one who will really win kasi panalo na siya sa totoo lang. In a way, kasi nag-cramps yung Italian eh. So hindi na niya kaya yung last jump off. Pero what did he do? He gave it up to share it. I mean, nothing. Can you find a better story than sharing your glory, di ba? Galing eh. And just sa akin, that was one of
That
the standouts of the games.
Yeah, that was definitely character. Like you could, every Olympic Games, I think like the character of the athletes have always been highlighted. And actually, in for Japan, because the start of before the Olympic Games, we it was so worrisome. I guess that was the vibe that was given off by a lot of the media, because there was how are they gonna deal with COVID-19. And actually in all Olympic games naman, there's always something that's like making there's always a challenge. And like in the Rio Olympics, it was the Zika virus, and now it's
Mhm.
COVID. So how what do you think of like how Japan pulled everything off?
The volunteers in all sporting events, kahit dito sa Manila, di ba? The volunteers also deserve a gold medal They deserve a gold. Nung opening ceremony pa lang, nakita mo, nakatayo doon ng ilang oras, pasayaw-sayaw, di ba? Meron pa rin silang energy to dance and to ano, because that was their, ano, the name of their country is at stake. They were performing this for their country, for their host city, and they want to show the best sa world. In 1964, the Olympics was parang showcase nila na after the war, di ba? Pero ngayon, they want to show that Tokyo is one with the community of the world. And hindi nila matalikuran yung ano nila, kahit na maraming umaway na ano. And they deserve a gold medal. Japan, uh, now they will be dealing with domestic problems because syempre maraming galit. But for us in the outside world, especially the Philippines, where we will forever remember Tokyo 2020 because of the gold medal. Thank you, di ba? Thank you, Japan, for pushing through with this. Uh, we waited, what, 5 years, di ba? Kasi 4 years na dapat plus one, di ba? But they still stood by it. Baga, sa to put it in sa language ng kalye, kahiyaan na to eh. Kahiyaan na, tuloy na natin to. And hindi siya basta-basta. Ano. Ganda talaga naman. Di ba? You would agree, B, di ba? Ang ganda naman talaga.
Yes, and I would also like to add, because I had an experience of studying and living in Japan for quite some time, and back in 2015. So I was still a competitive swimmer back then,
Mm-hmm.
training also, and I remember that there were already scouts, like Japanese scouts, who were scouting for like the best university swimmers, because they already want to train these athletes as
Nandun
early
na
as
sila, no? Oo.
2015,
Nakatingin na
because
agad
they're
sila
already
doon.
exactly, they're looking forward to 2020. And the reason, and by 2015, a lot of the Japanese citizens are already looking for English tutors, like the volunteers, because their goal was already like, I want to learn how to speak English in order to
Mhm.
welcome the foreigners in 2020. And Shibuya Station was also renovated just for the Olympics. Also, they
'Di
wanted to
ba?
put
Grabe.
signs, because yes, because I feel like Japan, it has been closed off in history, right? So
Yes, medyo xenophobic sila eh, 'di ba? Takot sila sa strangers or different countries, 'di ba? Pero
yeah,
they opened up, 'di ba?
yeah.
And
So like the Tokyo
best foot
Olympics,
forward. Best foot forward, 'di ba?
yes, I feel like the Tokyo Olympics was definitely a statement for Japan, also opening up to all these cultures. And actually, it also started like, I think the xenophobia was there at first when like the virus was still on a high, the anxiety was on a high. Then the Australian softball team started coming in, and then yun nga. And then actually, I also got a report today from our Japanese contributor Kantaro
Mhm.
and Jessa Dido. Hi, hi guys. So, they also said that, like, there were only two people outside the Olympic Stadium today holding up a cancel the Olympic signs.
Talaga, talaga. Eh, may kasi tapos na
Yes.
naman. Patapos na rin naman kasi.
Well, there was no more. But then, I mean, I think like the fact that the mood kind of laxed also. Like, you see Japan like winning 27 gold medals from 16. That's
Mm.
almost double na eh.
Tayo ba, did we have the biggest contingent this year? I mean, Philippines. I think we had
Oh,
a big
that would
contingent eh. I think we
we
had
did have a
kasi
big
bigger, di
contingent.
ba?
And I
Than the usual.
yes, yes, and I also saw that like the conversion rate also is like we won 4 gold medals out of 19 athletes. It's like a 20% conversion rate for
Di ba?
medals. That's pretty good. It's pretty
Very,
good
very
because like
good. Oh.
yes. So
Alam mo,
so so cheap.
isa pang ano na lang, just before I forget. I wrote down a note here. I said that we have to thank Japan for giving us a break from giving the COVID weary world a break from all the bad news. I mean, di ba? At least for the last 2 weeks, we had stories about triumph, stories about and um, like we said, there are no losers, di ba? The athletes who did not win, but they got the point, they get the lesson. So we have thank you Japan for providing us that. Thank you.
Yeah. really just I think like they were playing this song about hope also in the Olympic Games, like in the closing ceremonies. Like all we need is a little bit of hope, and Japan definitely provided us with that. Like given the Delta variant is just like was was on the headlines the whole time until the Olympic
Mhm.
Games also.
Correct, correct, correct.
Yes.
And Japan ngayon, parang Tokyo itself is having a lot of problems again with COVID. I'm sure now their focus will be there. Kasi tapos na yung Olympics, di ba? So we're back to the reality ng ano. And thank you athletes, di ba? The athletes are the stars and they provided us the ano we need, just the mood that we needed.
Yes, and Chito, you are also a former sports writer, and sports media has also like everywhere, like not only the Philippines but around the world, like have just provided us with all these news and info. But then, like, strangely, like this 2020 Olympics, bigla na spotlight tayo, like, and then so what can we take away from these Olympic Games as like sports media, and what advice can you give to budding sports journalists?
Mm-hmm. Um, the Olympics itself, uh, it is the epitome, di ba, of sports. As an athlete, everyone who joins, who trains seriously as an athlete, ang dream niya is to be in the Olympics. And also sports writers, di ba, yung dream mo mag-cover ka sa Olympics. Yeah. But the main the beauty is not just in the Olympic Games. It's not just it's in sports itself. Sports itself and its impact on mga tao. Kasi maraming lessons sa sports. Ang maganda lang kasi, baga nga, I will go back again to the beauty pageant, beauty queens are syempre, yun ang ano, and they articulate it, they show it. Everyone, the athletes aspire for that. Pero every athlete, maraming lessons na makukuha dyan. And I will not forget this kasi I saw that kind of mentality again na pwede mong i-apply kasi sa buhay eh. Sports is like life. So sports is uh, team spirit, not giving up, hangga't hindi pa tapos yung laban, may pag-asa ka. These are life lessons, di ba? So, and yung isa pang gustong gusto ko dyan is, and ito medyo sa hindi Olympics lumabas, no? Pero, ah, kanina, yung kay paalam, na knockdown siya. Did he take it bad? No. Because failure is a lesson. And sa kanya, lesson to, no? So, I mean, that's how the beauty of sports is. And we, sports media, we're just lucky to be at the front lines. Pero we shouldn't forget the message na ito, kailangan ituro rin natin sa mga tao. That's our role as media. Na, ano, and the athletes. And I think, isa pang lesson na take away ko dito sa is the government should seriously consider sports as part of a campaign to lift the Filipino spirit. Uh, I read in one kasama natin si dati nating columnist si Bob Guerrero. I saw his post and he was right. Sports is a key in solving yung mga problems natin, particularly yung favorite problem ng gobyerno in drugs. Sports will really solve that. And the Olympics, I hope, starts a revival.
That's so true. Actually, Chito, I would just like to add when you mentioned Carlo Paalam's knockdown. We talked to him this morning, and he said that it was the first time he got knocked down by his opponent. And we saw like how he did with that knockdown.
Uh,
He went back up. That was the first round knockdown, but then he finished all three rounds. So,
oh,
pero
di
in our
ba?
minds, it was just
Natapos
like
niya, di ba?
exposure tournament ang Olympics.
Di ba? Di ba? Di ba? Di ba? Pero alam mo ang boxers ang knockdown, minsan hindi mo alam na tumumba ka na eh. I've seen boxers na ganun eh. Ah, parang si Manny Pacquiao, lumalayo pa tayo. When he was knocked out ha, di ba when he was being revived, tinanong niya, ano nangyari? Kasi it's a very dangerous sport, boxing. So when you're knocked down, that's very serious. And hindi minsan, hindi mo alam na tumumba ka. Kaya bigla kang tatayo, others just sleep. Pero kaya nga sa kanya naging parang training niya yung ano, no? Sabi mo nga ano, exposure tong ano. But I think Paalam will become a better fighter after this. Hindi pa siya magpapaalam.
Yes. And also Cheetah, I was talking to our former sports editor Ryan, and he
Mhm.
also mentioned the
How did you find
coverage of.
Paalam?
Oh, yeah, he is someone who's very gritty, but then like sadly in the last fight, the final, like the Galal Yafai was just really a good fighter. Like he literally jumped on Paalam like
Hmm.
in the last fight. But then like I was talking to Ryan also about the coverage of, for example, the grassroots competitions like the Palarong Pambansa, and
Mhm,
we know
mhm.
that a lot of young sports writers, they first want to cover the UAP and all these ones that are televised on our TV screens also.
Mhm.
But then like what can you say about like promoting like these sports that our Olympic athletes excel in?
Yeah, we need that. Remember, sinabi ni Hidilyn, wala sa calendar yung weightlifting. Kasi yung weightlifting, hindi siya sexy eh. Hindi siya sexy na parang exciting sa TV, di ba? So, hindi siya masyado napapansin. Pero, for example, you were saying, in particular, you mentioned palarong pambansa. Remember that some of the brightest athletes noong nakaraan, Lydia De Vega, Isidro Del Prado, were discovered in the palarong pambansa. These they were barely teenagers then. So even uh, even this sports na, if I will forgive me for using the word neglected, even this neglected sports, I mean kailangan pansinin natin. Pansinin natin not just the winners, but for the athletes itself and for our country. Uh, we learn a lot. We will learn a lot from sports. Yun ang sa akin yan ang takeaway ko talaga diyan. We will learn a lot from sports.
Yeah. And then this Olympic Games, I think it was just a statement of like how good a Filipino athlete is. So, what does it say about what of Philippine sports, and what are your expectations of it like at this point?
Um, ang maganda kasi sa Olympics ngayon, uh, it is opening up to the fact na it has to be attractive sa youth. Like the event ni Marjeline Vidal, di ba? It is BMX will be joining in the next Olympics, yet you said. So there will be, I hope, and since malapit na rin naman yung Southeast Asian Games, there will be a revive. I mean, of course, there's COVID-19. Yun ang malaking problema natin. But the interest in sports, it's a spark. But it has to be from the leadership. It has to be from the top. The during there was a time na nung kasi si President Ramos noon athletic siya eh. Mahilig siya sa badminton and everything. And he was really promoting sports. Hopefully the leaders, our leaders, will also be promoting sports for the youth, for the people. Hopefully this will be revived. This will be reviving the our success in the, I'm using success kasi kahit na sabi mo hindi lahat nanalo, we're very successful. And hopefully this will be a revival for a new interest in sports, not just glamour sports, pero in other sports, especially team sports. Sana it will be the spark na ano, pag-isipan mabuti ng gobyerno, pag-isipan na pwede ito makatulong sa mga Pilipino.
Yes, like we have never I think like you would attest to this, but then like for the past Olympic Games, like we've never made it this far. Like you, as you said, like there were so many Filipino athletes who also made it to the finals of this Olympics, like
Oo.
Marjorie
Mm-mm.
Didal, the final, and then see EJ Obia, the men's pole vault final, Carlos Yulo, vault final, and Yuka Sasso also, she
'Di ba?
the
Oh,
fourth round.
Ang laki ng jump niya, ha, from 41st, from the 40th.
47th,
Napunta siya ng,
47th, yes.
oh, di ba? 40th, di
Ninth.
ba? In fact, halos 50 na yon, di ba? Napunta siya sa 10th. I mean, grabe sa effort yon. And believe me, they were motivated by doing it for their country. They're doing it for their country. They're doing it for the Filipinos. They know that their country is watching them. So, di ba? Galing. Galing ng mga atletang Filipino. Despite the odds. Despite the odds.
That's true. So, and yun nga, like, this is also a beginning of a new Olympic cycle, except this time it's just 3 years. So, what are you expecting naman from in a very compressed, like, 3 years?
Ang mahirap kasi sa Olympics yung qualifying. Eh. So that means the qualifying will be earlier ngayon, di ba? I mean, kasi dati meron kang kahit paano 1 year break, then you start qualifying on the second. Ngayon medyo mas, and because of the uncertainty of COVID, so hindi mo alam, no? But uh, all those yung mga except for maybe yung mga may edad na magre-retire, pero all those who made the medals, and this is a page from the Hidilyn playbook, lahat ng mga nagkamedalyang hindi naka-gold, I mean, they're primed to win gold medals and the world will watch them then pati mga kalaban nila. So, who are these, di ba? Sila, if Nesty can then qualifies, if our gymnast, si Kaloy, Yulo, he will just improve. He will get better. Wag na niya sabihin paglaki ko kasi hindi na siya lalaki. Pero, mag improve pa siya. And that is for sure. Mag improve pa siya. So, it's a uh, very optimistic, very hopeful for Philippine sports.
Yes. And to wrap things up, anything else that you want to share, Chito?
Uh, yes. Biglang ganun. Nag-notes ako eh. Nag-notes ako. Kaya.
Yes, let's go!
Hindi, may nakalimutan ko nung banggitin. Isa pa pala mag-improve. Kamag-anak ko pa man din, tsaka na unang lumaban. Si Kurt Barbosa.
Yes.
Uh, how dare I forget my kamag-anak? It's very rare for us to combat sports, lagi nating pag-asa yan eh. Ang problema lang kasi sa combat sports, boxing, taekwondo, and karate, which finally made it to the Olympics. The main goal is to reach the finals and hope for that lucky punch. Parang yung nangyari nga kay Paalam na lucky punch siya ron eh. Sana. So, anyway, naiba talaga, before the games, uh, nung start ng Olympic Games, I was thinking baka the Olympic Games will be merong asterisk yan. Diba sa mga sports records, you set a record pero may asterisk because it's COVID-19. But now when you see at the end of the games, the best were still there in the Olympic in Tokyo. The best were still competing. Records fell. Our own records, Philippine records fell. So that just proves that really that totoo yung higher, faster, stronger ng Olympics. You just get better and better, get stronger and stronger. So regardless of COVID-19, this is the COVID games, but we still triumphed over it. Humanity triumphed over it, and I think the message of hope is there. Uh, we can beat this disease if we work together. I think that's the biggest message of the Olympic Games. And yun lang naisip ko na and sports will lead the way. Sports will provide the hope.
That's so good. So thank you so much, Chito, for joining us and also for helping us out throughout this whole coverage.
Oh, pero okay na rin. I mean, now we're back again to reality.
Yes. But
pero
then,
look at Hidilyn. She will make a difference in our lives. I think she will.
yes. All right. So thank you again, Cheetah. And to everyone, thank you so much for joining Rappler in this Tokyo Olympics journey. It's an honor to inform you with the news of our Filipino athletes in their run in the biggest stage in sports. And I hope that you enjoyed our coverage and our heartfelt stories that are just meant to be shared. But it's not over yet for Raptor sports. There's just more to come with the Tokyo Olympics and the Paralympics. Just like Carlo Paalam, it is not goodbye, just see you later. Again, this is Beatrice Go, Rappler, Manila, signing off.